Mandatory buyback. 72 hours. Sign here or we take legal action. The woman stood on my dock in a burnt orange power suit blazer sharp as a knife, despite the June heat, matching pencil skirt, heels that had no business being on weathered cedar planks. She thrust a clipboard at me like it was a court order. Behind her, Lake Huron sparkled, indifferent to her theatrics. I was holding a hammer, halfway through replacing a board. Sweat on my forehead, sawdust on my jeans. I'd spent 11 years turning a $10 foreclosure shack into a waterfront home. Now this woman, Victoria Brennan, HOA president, according to the embossed letterhead, was telling me I had 3 days to sell it back for $10. Or what? I asked, voice.com, setting down my hammer carefully. My wife Grace says I have the patience of a glacier, slow to move, unstoppable once I do. Victoria's smile was tight, practiced. Or the association will pursue all available remedies to protect community standards, including foreclosure. I looked at the paper. Fancy words. Legal-sounding phrases. Complete fabrication. This is my property, I said quietly. Bought and paid for. You have no authority here. Her smile widened. Predatory. Mr. Callahan, we have every authority. This is an HOA community. You signed the covenants when you purchased. Now sign the transfer or face the consequences. Grace appeared on the back deck, phone in hand, already recording. Our dog Rusty, old lab, gray muzzle, sat at her feet and growled low. Even he knew this woman was trouble. I looked from the ridiculous document to Victoria's confident face to my wife's steady gaze. The 72-hour clock was supposedly ticking. But what Victoria Brennan didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that buried near my big oak tree was an 1,897 survey pin, and in the Huron County Records Office was a deed that predated her HOA by 91 years. A deed with riparian rights that superseded every rule she'd ever invented. She thought she was taking my home. She had no idea she'd just started a war she couldn't win. My name is Thomas Callahan, 61 years old, retired marine engineer, lifelong fixer. If it's broken engine, roof, relationship, I can usually figure out how to make it work. My wife, Grace, 58, was an accountant before she retired. She runs numbers and keeps me honest. I run tools and keep us housed. We're a good team. 11 years ago, we bought this place for $10 at a county tax foreclosure auction. It wasn't a house, it was a suggestion of one. A condemned shack on 2 acres of the prettiest Lake Huron shoreline in Huron County, Michigan. Broken windows, sagging roof, foundation that looked like it was held together by prayer and mold. Everyone else at the auction took one look and walked away. We saw potential. We spent the next decade pouring our savings, our sweat, and what was left of my good knees into it. Tore it down to the studs, rebuilt from the ground up. Cedar siding, new foundation, solar panels, a dock that could survive Great Lakes storms. We took out a small renovation loan from Shoreline Community Bank, $45,000 to finish the roof and electrical, paid it down to $12,000 remaining. The place was now worth conservatively $850,000. Waterfront property in northern Michigan had exploded in value, but we never planned to sell. This was our retirement dream. Our peace. Until Victoria Brennan decided it would look better in her portfolio. The Tuesday she showed up was perfect. Early June 2024. Sun warm but not brutal. Lake calm as glass. I was on the dock replacing boards that winter had cracked. My version of meditation. The smell of fresh-cut cedar, the gentle lap of water, a job requiring just enough focus to quiet the mind. Grace was at the house, probably on her laptop, managing our finances. She handles the paperwork. I handle the wood and wire. We click. I heard aggressive tires on our gravel driveway long before I saw the car. A white Lexus SUV, pristine, the kind that's never seen mud. It crunched to a stop like the rocks should be honored. I straightened my back, giving its familiar protest. 58 years of fixing things leaves marks. Thomas Callahan? The voice cut across the lawn, sharp, accusatory. Not a question, a challenge. I walked up from the dock slowly. Rusty trotted beside me, not barking, just giving that low rumble he reserves for squirrels and people with bad intentions. Grace appeared on the deck, drying her hands, eyes already assessing the situation. After 36 years of marriage, we read threats the same way. Victoria didn't waste time on pleasantries. I'm Victoria Brennan, president of Lakeshore Estates HOA. I have an official notice for you. She thrust forward the clipboard. One sheet of paper, embossed letterhead showing two swans that looked like they were strangling each other. The title was bold, Mandatory, Community Cohesion, and Property Reacquisition Offer. I read the first paragraph aloud, partly for my benefit, partly so Grace could hear. Dear Mr. Callahan, pursuant to Lakeshore Estates Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, Article 12, Section 7, the Architectural Review Committee has determined that your property, due to significant unapproved aesthetic deviations, is eligible for mandatory buyback at original purchase price plus documented improvement costs not to exceed $5,000. I stopped, looked up. Mandatory buyback. That sounds like something you invented 5 minutes ago. Victoria's smile was tight, unpleasant. It's in the bylaws you agreed to when you purchased in this community. We're exercising our right of first refusal to reacquire the property. Original purchase price was $10 according to county records, plus $5,000 for approved improvements. Total offer, $5,010. I blinked. You want to buy an $850,000 property for $5,000. I want to restore community standards, she corrected. Your renovations were never submitted to the ARC for approval. That makes them unauthorized. The covenant gives us the right to remedy unauthorized construction through reacquisition. Grace stepped forward, her voice cool as lake water in January. Victoria, does your mandatory buyback program come with a complimentary bridge to sell us? Because that's the only way this gets more ridiculous. Victoria's eyes narrowed. She wasn't used to being challenged, certainly not with humor. This is a legal and binding notice, Mrs. Callahan. You have 72 hours to sign the transfer agreement and vacate. Failure to comply will result in further HOA action to protect community integrity. Further action, I repeated slowly. Meaning what? Meaning, Victoria said, smile widening, liens, fines, and ultimately, foreclosure proceedings. Your choice. Sign voluntarily or sign involuntarily. Either way, this property returns to HOA control for proper development. She turned, marched back to her pristine Lexus, and drove away, gravel spraying. Tires squealing, making a point. Grace and I stood there, the absurd document in her hand. Finally, Grace spoke. She just tried to steal our house with a fake legal notice. Yeah, I said. She did. What do we do? I looked at our home. 11 years of work. Every board chosen. Every nail driven. Every window placed to catch the sunrise. We fight, I said quietly. We gather evidence. We find the flaw in her game, and we make sure she never tries this on anyone again. Grace nodded. I'll start with the bylaws. You start with the deed history. The 72-hour clock was ticking, but what Victoria didn't know was that we weren't the kind of people who panicked. We were the kind who planned, and we'd just been handed all the motivation we needed. Grace spent that evening buried in the HOA covenants, conditions, and restrictions, a 287-page document that read like it was written by lawyers who billed by the word. I made coffee and pulled out our original closing documents from the county auction. Found it, Grace announced around 9 p.m., tapping her laptop screen. Article 12, Section 7. It says if a property is abandoned or falls into irreparable dereliction, the HOA has the option, not obligation, to make a fair market value offer. She looked up. Nothing about mandatory buybacks, nothing about unauthorized renovations, nothing about $10 reacquisitions. She made it all up. I felt anger settle in my chest, cold, focused. So she marched onto our property and handed us a completely fabricated legal document. Fraud, Grace said simply. Question is, Why? I thought about that. Victoria Brennan didn't strike me as stupid. Entitled, yes. Arrogant, absolutely. But not stupid. There was a reason she wanted this property specifically. Pull up recent real estate transactions, I said. See if there's a pattern. Grace's fingers flew across the keyboard. After 20 minutes, she found it. Thomas, look at this. She turned the screen. A map of our area showing recent sales. 3 properties on our stretch of shoreline had sold in the past 18 months, all to the same buyer, Brennan Development LLC. Registered agent, Victoria Brennan. She's assembling a development parcel, I breathed. She's got the properties on either side of us. We're the missing piece. Waterfront land up here is worth a fortune, Grace said. If she can assemble 5 contiguous acres, she could build a boutique resort, condos, marina. We're talking millions in profit. So she fabricates a buyback clause, I continued, hoping we're dumb enough or scared enough to sign. If we don't, she finds another way to take it, Grace finished. We looked at each other. This wasn't just HOA overreach. This was organized real estate fraud. And we were the obstacle. We let the 72 hours pass, Grace said. It's a bluff. Let's see what she does when we don't fold. So we did nothing. Didn't respond. Didn't call lawyers. Just let the fake deadline expire like the fiction it was. 72 hours came and went. No knock, no call. Just calm water and a growing certainty that Victoria would escalate. The escalation started the following Monday. The first notice was taped to our front door, a violation ticket from Lakeshore Estates HOA. Infraction. Unauthorized watercraft coloration. Fine. $200. I stared at it, bewildered, then looked down at our dock, where my old blue canoe was tied. Same canoe I'd had for 15 years. Apparently, I called to Grace, who was watering her herb garden. My canoe is an illegal color. She came over, read the ticket, sighed. She's building a paper trail. The fines kept coming, 1 a day, like clockwork. Non-conforming dock length, $300. Unapproved solar panel installation, $500. Excessive vegetation, our wildflower garden, $250. Unauthorized exterior lighting, our porch lamp, $150. Each notice was more absurd than the last. Grace opened a 3-ring binder and wrote on the spine, "The Book of Lies." Every ticket went in, photographed, dated, cross-referenced with the actual HOA bylaws that didn't support any of these violations. We weren't just mad, we were documenting, building our own paper trail. 2 weeks later, the book was an inch thick. Wind chimes. Welcome, Matt. Even our American flag, non-approved flag dimensions. The fake debt was approaching $15,000. We knew Victoria's plan now. Create a mountain of violations. File a lien. Use the lien to trigger our bank loan's default clause. Force foreclosure. Take the property for pennies. It was elegant in its cruelty, and it would have worked on someone who panicked. But we didn't panic. We prepared. She's going to file a lien, I told Grace. It's the only move that makes sense. She needs to force the bank's hand. When? Soon. She can't wait forever. Development season starts in spring. She needs us out by winter. I was right. The call came 3 days later. I was in my workshop, fixing a neighbor's outboard motor, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Local area code. Thomas Callahan. Mr. Callahan, this is Jennifer from Shoreline Community Bank. Her voice was young, stressed. I'm calling about your renovation loan. My stomach dropped. What about it? Sir, we've received notice of a lien filed against your property, a substantial one. Lakeshore Estates HOA. According to the filing, you have an outstanding debt of $43,750. I felt the blood drain from my face. $43,000. She'd taken every fake violation, multiplied the fines by imaginary late fees and interest, and weaponized them. That's a fraudulent lien, I said, voice shaking. Those violations are fabricated. We can prove it. I hope you can, Mr. Callahan, Jennifer said, sounding genuinely sympathetic. But the lien has been officially recorded with Huron County, and your loan agreement requires you to keep the property free of encumbrances. This lien puts you in technical default. How long do we have? 30 days to resolve the lien, or the bank is required to initiate foreclosure proceedings. 30 days. Not 72 hours. A real clock. A real threat. I understand, I said, throat tight. We'll handle it. I hung up and stood there, hands still on the phone, fury building like a Lake Huron storm. Victoria had found the perfect weapon. She wasn't just attacking us. She was using our own lender against us. I walked into the house. Grace was already on her laptop. She saw my face. The bank? Leanne, $43,750. 30 days or foreclosure. Grace's face went steel hard. That look I'd seen maybe 5 times in 36 years. The look that meant someone had pushed too far. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. She just made a mistake. What mistake? She thinks we're victims. She's about to learn we're not. Grace pulled up county records. We need the original deed, the one from the tax auction, and we need to go back further. Find out who owned this land before it was foreclosed. There's something here. Has to be. We spent the rest of the day at the Huron County Hall of Records, a dusty building that smelled like old paper and municipal coffee. The clerk, a kind older woman named Marge, helped us pull records. We found our 2013 tax auction purchase, worked backward through previous owners. 2008 foreclosure by the county. 2001 transfer to a family trust. 1,987 estate sale, 1,956 inheritance, 1,923 purchase by a family named Whitmore, and then, in a leather-bound volume from 1,897, we found it. Original land patent, granted to Josiah Whitmore by the state of Michigan. The language was beautiful in its specificity, including all riparian rights, privileges, and easements appurtenant to the adjoining waters of Lake Huron, extending to the mean high water mark and 50 feet lakeward thereof for purposes of docking, mooring, fishing, and recreation, said rights to run with the land in perpetuity and to supersede any and all future covenants, restrictions, or municipal ordinances. Grace read it aloud, voice trembling. Riparian rights, predating the HOA by 91 years, rights that explicitly supersede future restrictions. Every violation she cited, I said slowly, the dock, the canoe, the length, the lights near the water, none of it is under HOA jurisdiction. Those are riparian rights. They came with the land. She built her entire case, Grace breathed, on a foundation that doesn't exist. We copied everything. The 1,897 patent. Every deed in the chain of title. Proof that those rights had never been severed, never sold off, never abandoned. They'd passed through every transfer, including the tax auction, directly to us. This is our shield, I said. But we need a sword. We need to prove she's behind the harassment, the lien, everything. We need her caught in the act. Grace smiled. Dangerous smile. Then let's set a trap. The plan formed over the next 2 days. We couldn't just send Victoria the deed and hope she backed off. She'd crossed too many lines, committed too many fraudulent acts. She needed to be exposed, prosecuted, stopped permanently. But first, we needed to understand the full scope of her operation. That meant talking to other victims. I started with the Hendersons, Bill and Nancy. Mid-60s, lived 3 doors down. Bill answered when I knocked, looking wary. Thomas, what can I do for you? Can we talk? About Victoria Brennan and the HOA? His expression shifted from wary to bitter. Come in. Over coffee at their kitchen table, they told their story. Last year, Victoria had cited them for unauthorized landscaping modifications after Nancy planted native wildflowers in their front yard instead of the HOA-approved turf grass. The fine was $500. We paid it, Nancy said, voice tight. We were scared. She sent her husband, he's a lawyer, with a letter threatening a lien if we didn't comply within 10 days. Her husband's a lawyer? I asked, making a mental note. Real estate attorney? Edward Brennan. Works at some big firm in Bay City. They're a team. She finds targets. He provides the legal muscle. Did anyone else get fined? The Carsons, for their dock lights. The Millers, for their fire pit. The Yamamotos, for having a vegetable garden. Anyone who made their property unique got targeted. She wants everything beige and boring. Easier to sell that way. I thanked them and moved on to the Millers. Same story, different violation, pattern of harassment. By the end of the day, I'd talked to 7 families. Every one had a Victoria horror story. Most had paid the fines out of fear. One couple, the Yamamotos, had fought back and won, but only after spending $8,000 on legal fees. She's a bully, Kenji Yamamoto told me, but she's a smart bully. She knows exactly how far to push before people give up. She's been doing this for 3 years, ever since she became president. 3 years, I repeated. How much has she collected in fines? Kenji pulled out a spreadsheet. He was an accountant by trade. I've been tracking it. Best estimate? $127,000 in fines over 3 years. Maybe another $50,000 in legal fees paid to her husband's firm. The HOA's operating budget has tripled, but community improvements have decreased. The money's going somewhere. I felt cold anger settle deeper. This wasn't just about our property. Victoria had been running a systemic shakedown operation using fake violations to extract money from residents while simultaneously assembling her development parcel. Would you be willing to testify? I asked. If it came to that? Kenji looked at his wife Yumi. She nodded. Yes, Kenji said. We'd testify. We'd bring our records. Someone needs to stop her. I spent the next day installing the surveillance system. Not just cameras, a complete counterintelligence operation. I started with the obvious spots. Birdhouse camera overlooking the driveway, fake rock camera covering the front approach, weatherproof unit in the eaves, monitoring the side yard. But then I got creative. I installed a hidden camera inside an old fishing tackle box on the dock, lens aimed at the main approach from the water. Another in a PVC pipe painted to look like it was part of the dock structure, covering the pilings from a low angle. A trail camera, the kind hunters use, mounted in a tree overlooking our entire 2-acre property. And the crown jewel, a license plate reader camera at the end of our driveway, programmed to capture and timestamp every vehicle that turned onto our private road. All of it fed wirelessly to a server I built in my workshop, a bank of hard drives that would store everything with redundant backups. If Victoria sent people, we'd have them from every angle. Grace handled the aerial component. She'd taken up drone photography when she retired. Initially, just for fun, aerial shots of the lake, wildlife videos. Now, it became tactical. Her DJI Mavic 3 had a 4K Hasselblad camera that could see in low light, plus a thermal sensor that detected heat signatures. She practiced flight patterns, learning to keep the drone silent and high enough to be invisible, but low enough for clear footage. She programmed automated patrol routes that the drone could fly on its own, scanning our property perimeter every hour after dark. If they come at night, she said, studying the controller's screen, we'll see their heat signatures before they even reach the property line. And they'll never know we're watching. But surveillance alone wasn't enough. We needed bait. Something that would force Victoria's hand. Something so provocative she couldn't resist responding. I went to Hanson's Hardware in town and found exactly what I needed. The most obnoxiously bright, eye-searing neon orange paint I'd ever seen. Safety orange, the kind used for road cones and hazard signs. The kind that screamed, "Look at me," from a quarter mile away. I came home and painted our mailbox, the little lighthouse design that Victoria had already fined us $150 for in this blazing, defiant shade of orange. It looked like a beacon. A middle finger visible from space. Grace laughed when she saw it. Subtle. About as subtle as her fake buyback notice, I replied. Then Grace made the sign. She's always had beautiful handwriting, precise and clear. She took a 4-foot sheet of marine-grade plywood and hand-painted in bold black letters. Private property, riparian rights, established 1897. Predating all HOA covenants, trespassers will be recorded and prosecuted. We treated it with weatherproof sealant and mounted it on pressure-treated posts at the entrance to our dock path. It was massive, impossible to miss, a declaration of war and a legal warning all in one. But the final piece of our trap involved allies. We couldn't do this alone. We needed witnesses, backup, people who could corroborate what was happening. I invited the Hendersons, the Millers, and the Yamamotos to our house one evening. Showed them everything. The 1897 deed, the surveillance setup, the pattern we documented. Victoria's been running a criminal enterprise, I told them. Fake violations, fraudulent liens, conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. But to prosecute her, we need more than just our word. We need a community of victims willing to stand up. Bill Henderson spoke first. What do you need from us? Be ready to testify. Document any contact you have with Victoria or the HOA. If you see suspicious activity near our property, call us immediately. We're setting a trap, and we need people watching the trap. Nancy Miller, soft-spoken woman in her 70s, surprised us all. I have security cameras too. They cover part of your property line from our angle. I can give you access to the feed. Yumi Yamamoto nodded. Our Ring doorbell captures everyone who drives down this road. I can pull the footage going back months. Show the pattern of surveillance. By the end of the evening, we had a network. 6 households, all coordinating, all documenting, all prepared to stand as witnesses to Victoria's systematic abuse of power. She thinks we're isolated, Grace said after they left. Thinks she's picking us off one by one. She has no idea we're organizing. I looked at the monitor bank in my workshop, showing the grid of camera feeds. The orange mailbox glowed in the dusk light. The sign stood proud and defiant at the dock path. Every camera was recording. Every hard drive was ready. Now we wait, I said. For 3 nights, nothing happened. I found myself pacing, checking the monitors obsessively, jumping at every car sound in the distance. The anticipation was worse than action. Grace remained calm, methodical. She'd been through audit season at her firm for 30 years. She knew how to wait for the other shoe to drop. Patience, she reminded me on the 3rd night. Victoria is a bully, but she's a calculating one. She's watching, assessing. She sees that sign, that orange mailbox. She knows it's provocation. She's planning her response. When it comes, it'll be big. How do you know? Because that's what bullies do when they're challenged publicly. They can't let it stand. It makes them look weak. She'll come, and when she does, she'll overreach. That's when we have her. As always, Grace was right. The response came just before dawn on the 4th night, and it was exactly the overreach we'd been waiting for. I dozed in my chair, monitor showing the grid of camera feeds. Grace nudged me awake. Thomas, company. On screen, a truck rolling up our private drive, headlights off. It was towing something, a small work barge with a winch. They're not coming for the mailbox, I said, adrenaline spiking. They're coming for the dock. Grace grabbed the drone controller. I'll get eyes in the sky. You monitor ground cameras and call the sheriff. I watched the feeds. 2 figures got out of the truck. In Grace's thermal drone view, they were orange shapes moving with purpose. They launched the barge, motored quietly toward our shore. On my dock camera, I saw them clearly. One was attaching a heavy cable to our main dock piling. They were going to try to pull the entire structure off its moorings. The audacity was breathtaking. Grand theft. Destruction of property. On camera. Got 'em, Grace said from the deck, face lit by her controller screen. Recording everything. 40 feet up. Thermal and 4K. I dialed 911. This is Thomas Callahan, 2847 Lakeshore Drive. 2 men are actively attempting to steal my boat dock. I have them on live video from multiple cameras. Sending you the stream link now. Sir, stay inside, the dispatcher said. Deputies are en route. Not going anywhere, I replied. Eyes on the screen. The winch groaned. The cable went taut. Our dock creaked in protest. Then Grace brought the drone down fast. It dropped like a hawk, navigation lights flashing, camera pointed at the 2 men. They froze, stared up at this alien mechanical thing buzzing above them, terror on their faces. Sirens wailed in the distance. Getting closer. The 2 men panicked, tried to unhook the cable. Too late. Sheriff's deputies came down our path, flashlights cutting the pre-dawn darkness. Hands up, now. The goons surrendered immediately, hands in the air, game over. The lead deputy came to our door afterward. Young guy, professional. He looked at our monitor showing the footage, looked at Grace landing the drone, shook his head. That's some camera system, Mr. Callahan. We take security seriously. I said, we'd caught them, red-handed, on video, but they were just hired muscle. We still needed to connect. Victoria, Grace found the connection. While I'd been installing cameras, she'd been digging deeper into HOA records. She'd requested meeting minutes from the past year, including the one where the board supposedly voted to file the lien against us. The minutes showed a unanimous vote. But Grace noticed something odd. Several proxy votes from homeowners who supposedly couldn't attend. She'd taken copies to a friend who did forensic document examination. They're forgeries, Grace announced. At least 6 of them. Same pen pressure, same handwriting characteristics. Someone signed those proxy votes to create a false majority. Victoria, I said. Has to be. She needed board approval for the lien. Didn't have the votes, so she made them up. Which is fraud, Grace said. Criminal fraud. We now had everything. The 1,897 deed, proving her violations were baseless. Video of criminal trespassing linked to her, the truck was registered to an HOA maintenance company, and forged documents she'd filed with the county. Time to force a confrontation. We sent a certified letter to every HOA board member requesting an emergency homeowners meeting. We stated we had irrefutable evidence of criminal activity conducted in the name of the HOA and would be presenting it publicly. We attached a copy of the 1,897 deed. We were forcing their hand. They couldn't ignore a formal meeting request with this kind of threat hanging over them. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday, 7 p.m., Community Clubhouse. The clubhouse was packed. Nearly every homeowner in Lakeshore Estates was there. The room buzzed with tension and gossip. We saw a few friendly faces, the Hendersons, the Millers, people who'd also been targeted by Victoria's fines. We gave them subtle nods. Victoria and the board sat at the front table looking severe. Victoria wore that burnt orange suit again, her armor, her symbol of authority. She looked confident, certain she had this under control. She opened the meeting with condescending authority. We're here because of unsubstantiated allegations made by Mr. and Mrs. Callahan. The board operates with integrity and always in the community's best interest. I didn't respond. Just walked to our laptop and pressed play. We showed the video. The room fell silent. They watched the 2 men sneaking onto our property, attaching the tow cable, the drone descending, the sheriff's arrival. When it ended, shocked murmurs rippled through the crowd. Victoria remained composed. A disturbing video. I'm glad law enforcement handled it, but this proves nothing about the HOA. These were criminals targeting our community. That was our cue. Grace stood holding a microphone. Really, Victoria? Because the $43,750 lien you filed was dated 3 days before these men showed up to repossess our dock. Quite a coincidence. Victoria's composure cracked slightly. That lien was for documented violations. If the Callahans dispute it, they can take it to court. Oh, We will, Grace said calmly. But first, let's talk about how you got authorization to file it. Let's talk about votes. Grace projected images of the proxy signatures onto the screen. These are proxy votes from the meeting where you approved the lien. We had them analyzed. They're forgeries, at least 6 of them. The room erupted, people shouting. A man stood. "That's my signature! I never signed that! I was in Florida!" a woman yelled. "I voted no, not yes." Victoria was on her feet, face pale. "This is slander, lies." But we weren't done. I took the microphone. Forgeries to push through a fraudulent lien. For what? A blue canoe? No. It was never about rules. I pointed to a man in the back trying to disappear into his chair. Expensive suit. Slick hair. It's about him. That's David Sterling, Sterling Development Group. He's your business partner, isn't he, Victoria? All eyes turned. Sterling looked like he wanted to evaporate. "We found public records," I continued. "Mr. Sterling needs 5 contiguous shoreline acres for a luxury development project. He already owns 4 of them. The 5th is ours. Victoria stands to make a $200,000 consulting fee if the deal goes through." The final piece clicked for everyone. The mandatory buyback, the fake violations, the forged lien, the midnight dock theft. All part of an illegal scheme to force us out so Victoria could complete her development deal. Chaos descended. People yelling at Victoria, at Sterling, at the board. Victoria stood there, her burnt orange suit suddenly looking less like armor and more like a target, her empire crashing down in a single glorious meeting. She'd underestimated us, thought we were just old retirees she could bully, never imagined we'd find century-old deeds, set up surveillance, and expose her entire conspiracy in front of the whole community. Her reign was over. But the legal fight was just beginning. The HOA meeting was Victoria's public execution, but the official burial happened in court. Within weeks, the Huron County DA opened an investigation. The bank, upon receiving our 1,897 deed, immediately suspended foreclosure and removed the lien's effect on our loan. But the fraudulent lien itself had to be voided by a judge. Our court date came 3 months later. Civil hearing. No jury. Just facts and documents. The courtroom smelled like floor polish and justice. Victoria arrived with an expensive lawyer who looked perpetually constipated. She wore a modest navy suit, trying to project wronged community leader. Didn't work. Judge Patterson was a no-nonsense woman in her late 60s, with a reputation for precision and zero tolerance for fraud. Our lawyer, Bill Morrison, semi-retired but sharp as ever, was magnificent. He laid out the case methodically. The fabricated mandatory buyback letter, Exhibit A. The absurd violations from the Book of Lies, Exhibits B through R. Video of the attempted dock theft, Exhibit S. Expert testimony on the forged proxy votes, Exhibit T. And finally, the 1,897 land patent with riparian rights, Exhibit Q. "Your Honor," Bill said, voice resonating with quiet authority, "the HOA's entire case is built on jurisdiction it never had. This deed, recorded 91 years before the Lakeshore Estates HOA existed, grants riparian rights that supersede any HOA covenant." He placed the certified copy on the judge's bench. Judge Patterson read carefully, looked over her glasses at Victoria's lawyer. "Counselor, do you have a response?" The lawyer stood, stammered something about all homeowners agreeing to bylaws regardless of prior rights. Judge Patterson cut him off. "Are you suggesting an HOA agreement from 2006 can retroactively nullify property rights from 1,897? Because I'd love to see the legal precedent for that. It would be fascinating. And fictional." The lawyer sat down, face red. Judge Patterson turned to Victoria. "Miss Brennan, I have evidence of harassment, a fraudulent lien, forged voting documents, and a documented profit motive. Before I rule, anything you'd like to say?" Victoria stood, composure finally shattering. "They broke the rules. Their dock was non-conforming. They think they're above community standards. They undermined everything I built. Judge Patterson listened patiently until Victoria ran out of steam. Miss Brennan, you didn't build a community. You built a fiefdom. And your reign is over. The judgment was swift. The $43,750 lien, null and void, expunged immediately. Victoria personally fined $15,000 for filing a fraudulent legal document. The HOA fined $75,000 for gross mismanagement. Victoria and the entire board. Removed from positions, independent receiver appointed to manage HOA until fair elections. Victoria just stood there, mouth open, face ashen. She'd lost everything: power, reputation, money. Her developer partner Sterling had already cut a deal with the DA to testify against her in exchange for reduced charges. As we left the courthouse, we walked past her. She wouldn't meet our eyes, just stared at the wall, a statue of defeated arrogance. Outside in the sunlight, Grace squeezed my hand. "It's over," she whispered. "Really over. It was." The system Victoria tried to weaponize had been the thing that brought her down. Truth, backed by technology and stubbornness, had prevailed. 3 months have passed since the courtroom. Life in Lakeshore Estates has changed. The dark cloud of Victoria's reign has lifted. People breathe easier. The court-appointed receiver, a quiet, efficient woman named Margaret Chen, is methodically untangling Victoria's web of petty rules and financial messes. New elections scheduled for fall. Good people are willing to run now. This afternoon, I'm back on my dock, not fixing anything, just sitting in a comfortable chair, cold drink in hand, watching the world. Grace is beside me, reading. Rusty sleeps at our feet, gray muzzle peaceful in the sun. The Hendersons and Millers are here too. Impromptu celebration, peace and quiet. Our blue canoe is tied to the cleat, looking particularly vibrant. It's become a symbol. People aren't afraid anymore. The neighborhood looks better now that it's not ruled by beige conformity. I saw Victoria at the grocery store. Grace says, not looking up from her book. She looked small. Just a sad woman buying cat food. I nod. There's no joy in her downfall. Just quiet satisfaction that the world is right again. Her criminal trial is pending. Her developer deal is dead. Her power is gone forever. My gaze drifts to the new sign at our dock path. The old defiant one is gone. We replaced it with beautiful carved cedar. Welcome to the joyful dock Est 1897. Grace leans her head on my shoulder. We watch the sun drop toward the horizon, painting Lake Huron gold and purple. You know, Grace says softly, that mailbox is still neon orange. Yep, kind of growing on me. Me too, I admit. Think we'll keep it. We sit with friends on the shore we fought for. The peace is real. The dock will always be joyful. And the 1897 deed, our secret weapon, hangs framed in our living room, a reminder that sometimes the oldest rights are the strongest ones. Victoria thought she could rewrite history with fake bylaws and forged votes. She forgot that real history is written in iron pins and recorded deeds. And it doesn't change just because someone wants it to. The lake laps gently at our dock. Rusty snores. Grace turns a page. I take a sip of my drink. This is what we fought for, not just a house. Not just property rights. This moment, this peace, this home, and no HOA president in a burnt orange suit will ever take it from us again.